Hope you're doing well and ready for another exciting meeting at the Future Leaders Gavel Club. My name is Caleb Van Brunt. It is an honor to be your club president, and I would like to officially call this meeting to order. The Future Leaders Gavel Club is a Toastmasters club open to middle school and high school students in which members are empowered to develop communication skills and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Today is our intra-club speech competition. The winner of this speech competition will advance to the national competition, and if they win the national competition, to the international speech competition for Gavel Clubs. This is going to be a great opportunity for everyone to practice their speaking skills, and I am excited to announce that we are having a special guest, Mr. Noel Dalmasio, who will be evaluating all our speeches after the contest is over. Hello, Noel, and without further ado, I would like to pass the control of the meeting to our contest chair, who is Michelle. Take it away.
Thank you, President Caleb. My name is Michelle, and I will be honored today to be your contestant chair for our speech meeting. Now, before we get started with our contest, I wanted to explain the contest procedures. And this is the order of the speakers that will be in the speech. First, we have contestant 1, Alex, contestant 2, William, contestant 3, Caleb, contestant 4, Jonya, contestant 5, Claire, and the last contestant 6, Ethan. Each speaker will be introduced in this format: contestant name, speech title, speech question, contestant name. Oh my gosh. After which you can begin speaking. The timer will be counting the time as soon as you make a visible gesture or begin speaking. Speeches must be between 5 to 7 minutes in length. Contestants who speak less than 5 minutes or over 7 minutes and 30 seconds will be disqualified. Our timer, Angelina, will raise her virtual hand for her to remain at the top of the screen. The green virtual background will appear at 5 minutes, the yellow at 6 minutes, and the red background at 7 minutes. When you see the red background, note that you will only have 30 seconds to complete your response without being disqualified. After each speech, there will be 1 minute of silence for the judges to write down their remarks. We ask that all audience members remain muted during the contest, and we will close the chat until all the participants have finished participating. Now, let's get started with our contest. Now, I will be calling on our first contestant, Alex. Alex, can you hear me and see me? Please respond.
Sorry, Michelle. I want to make sure the virtual backgrounds work. Angelina, could you show the green, yellow, and red? Thank you. Perfect. Thank you, Michelle.
Yes,
Now,
I can hear you. Oh,
all right.
all right.
So now, contestant 1. Oh, wait. We have to get everyone. Oh, wait, this is in table topics. My bad. Contestant 1, Alex. My extraordinary issue and an extraordinary solution, Alex Lee.
Climate change is like a ticking time bomb. It seems as though everyone is talking about it nowadays, but all the solutions seem the same. Climate change is a new problem that no generation before us had to tackle, and it might be the biggest problem we've ever faced. At our polluting rate, it's possible that we could have snowless winters by 2040. Just imagine that. In 2 decades, winters would no longer be characterized by snow. Sports like skiing and snowboarding on snow will be something of the past. Yet, for such a severe and extraordinary issue, why are we only using ordinary solutions? Since 1880, our Earth has warmed up 1.9 degrees Fahrenheit, and the amount our Earth is warming up is growing exponentially. We've let it get worse and worse while our solutions are not working like we need them to. A big reason for this rapid warming is that fossil fuels contribute to 75% of greenhouse gas emissions and 90% of carbon dioxide emissions. Many initiatives have been made to reduce our emissions, but the plain truth is that we rely on fossil fuels too much to stop. Many more decades would be needed to find a solution. The plain truth is we don't have time. 2024 already had the hottest day on record, the hottest summer on record, and the highest average temperature in 175 years. We've also seen an unprecedented hurricane season with the earliest Category 4 hurricane ever, and only gets worse as time goes on. Every year that we let climate change get worse, the chances of death from natural disaster only goes up. Soon, some places can become inhabitable because of the risk being too high. A new solution that has been brought up is the use of satellites. People have always said that the sky's the limit. So why don't we go to limit to solve such a serious problem? We have been launching satellites for 67 years. Currently, 11,330 satellites are orbiting us right now. We already have a great understanding of satellites and have seen their observation capabilities. Satellites are already being launched that have the potential to help us with climate change. Instruments put on these satellites can observe our Earth better than we ever could on the ground and have already helped scientists better understand climate change. However, that's not where it ends. In the future, satellites can capture gas. We already have new technology that can capture carbon dioxide, and after figuring out the logistics and refining gas capture technology, satellites can be used to manage our gases and could help us completely not worry about having to create new technologies to replace fossil fuels. However, there are drawbacks. When launching satellites, lots of power and fuel are required to get them into orbit. Not only that, space trash would be a serious problem. With so many objects in the sky, there is no way of avoiding buildup. Quote, each year, rocket launches that use RP-1 collectively expel around 1 gigagram or 1,000 metric tons of black carbon into the stratosphere. This number will only grow as the need for satellites becomes more crucial. Because of this, people question whether this is good or bad for the planet. However, rocket launches only account for 1% of emissions on Earth, and the benefits they bring greatly outweigh the drawbacks. We know climate change is no ordinary problem. It's on path to destroy our planet. So, why does everyone seem to suggest ordinary solutions? Satellites are one way to solve the problem, but it's not the only solution. Many other ideas can solve this problem. You just need to think outside the box. Spread the word and save your world. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, for the speech. Now we will have 1 minute for the judges to complete their remarks. The 1 minute of silence has passed. Now we will have our next contestant, William Chang. William Chang, My Crazy Mother. My Crazy Mother, William Chang.
From the moment we arrive in this world, we are all lifelong learners, but what really sets us apart is the role models we choose and the knowledge and values we inherit. Fellow Toastmasters, future leaders, and lifelong learners, when have you turned to other people for help? If you asked me who my role model is, you might guess that I would say Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr. While all of these historical figures have some significance to my character in the present day, no role model has ever given me more than my crazy mother. My mother is special in many different ways. And I call her crazy because she is able to make any situation and turn it around, casting it in a positive light for all to see. Let me give you all an example. Just a few years ago, we took a family vacation to Grand Teton National Park. We flew into Salt Lake City, Utah. For those of you who are unaware, Salt Lake City is located in the Great Basin of the United States, in an incredibly arid and hot region. But as soon as we had touched down in Salt Lake City and began to traverse the streets of trendy downtown Salt Lake City, the skies let loose with thunder and rain. Flashback to the moments before we had departed. My father had bought us all raincoats and nice umbrellas for the trip. My crazy mother, however, refused to accept them. She said, "Dear, I'm not going to take this bulky umbrella on this trip." Now standing there in the rainstorm, I looked at my mother and said, "See, you should have listened to Dad and my advice." But by the time I turned around, I noticed that my mother had already grabbed something out of her bag. It was long and slender and dark colored. And the more I looked at it, the more my mouth dropped open. "Mom, what are you doing with a trash bag?" And I watched with horror and excitement, a weird mix of the two, as my mother slipped on this massive trash bag with 4 holes cut out, 2 for her eyes and 2 for her arms. I could hear her giggling behind the bag, but I didn't know what to say. "Mom, you're crazy. What are you doing?" "Dear, it's all right. I'm your crazy mom." When you have a situation in life, don't always resort to your toolbox. Keep an open heart and open your mind. I was unconvinced in that moment, but my mom would prove it to me as the years passed. Because on that same trip, once we had finally arrived in Grand Teton, we went whitewater rafting. And once again, due to our misfortune, the skies let loose upon us. But this time, it wasn't just rain, it was sleet and snow. Guess who had forgotten to bring his umbrella that day? None other than me. Right before we had gotten on the raft, I stayed as far away from my mother as I could because I was so embarrassed by a mother who used trash bags as their raincoat. But now, on that tiny little raft, I had nowhere else to go. I asked the captain, "Captain, do you have a spare trash bag?" He said yes, and I took the bag, ripped out 4 holes, and donned my own trash bag. My mom had convinced me to open my mind and open my heart. Let's now go to something that happened all throughout my life as I was growing up. My mom never asked for my permission when she decided to take me out to community events, to community service, whether it meant singing and playing piano for the elderly at their care homes or fundraising for my school and community. But throughout all of those experiences, and there's some of them I can remember quite in fond detail, I learned to have a bigger heart and help others in need. When I was fundraising for my school in elementary school, I was constantly yelling, "Chocolate for my school! $1 for 2 bars!" By the way, nowadays it's $2 for 1 bar. But aside from that, I learned that sometimes you need to take an active role in your community. And that translates onto the many things that I've done within high school, whether that be community service or my continued support and involvement in extracurriculars. Finally, my mom is very crazy because she loves to gossip. She's very nosy. Just earlier today at dinner, I told my mother that I had just found out that my 2 friends, River and Lisa, were dating. With a flick of her wrist, my mom had contacted Lisa's mom. I said, "Mom, what are you doing? This information was for your ears only." But throughout the years, I've realized that my mom is nosy and she likes to gossip because she cares about other people. When she found out that my friends wanted had parents and they were out for work the whole day, she decided to deliver them lunch. When my mom found out that our community had a cleanup project, she enlisted my help and other high schoolers to do that. So as you can see, future leaders and lifelong learners, it's not about the role model that you see in others. It's about what those role models can see in you and bring out in you. And as lifelong learners, future leaders, we can all strive to open our hearts and open our minds. Contest chair.
Thank you, William, for your speech. And now we will have 1 minute for the judges to complete their remarks. Now that 1 minute of silence has passed. And now we will be having our third contestant. Now, Caleb, can you hear me and see me? Please respond so we can check your microphone and ensure we can see you and hear you.
I can see you and hear you.
Thank you for confirming. And now, contestant 3, Caleb Van Brandt. Turn the dial. Turn the dial. Caleb Van Brunt.
In our lives, we dream. In our lives, we aim for success. Yet sometimes, as we dream, as we aim for success, we fail. Ladies and gentlemen, future leaders, have you ever failed? Failure is like tuning a radio. If you're off by just a little, the sound turns to static. In those moments, it's easy to feel defeated. It's easy to think that our dreams are out of reach. But what if you turn the dial? What if, like a dial on the radio, you make small adjustments until the garbled frequency of failure turns into the crystal clear frequency of success? In April of last year, I decided to compete in my orchestra's concerto competition on cello. Winning would give me the opportunity to perform my solo piece, accompanied by the full symphony orchestra. I had a goal: to win that competition. As I walked onto the stage, its wooden floors looked like solid gold. With my cello, I took my place on a tall black chair, and very confidently, I began. The notes flowed beautifully from my cello like ice cream melting on a hot summer day. And at the end of the performance, I knew that I was sure to be a winner. In the days that followed, I waited patiently, expectantly, for the results. And 3 days later, the results were announced. I had lost. I was crushed. I had poured my heart into that performance, yet I had only heard the frequency of failure. Doubts crept in. Maybe I just wasn't good enough. Maybe I should just give up. I went to talk to my cello teacher, Mr. K. Think of that one person in your life who is always there for you, even in your hardest moments. Maybe it's a parent, a mentor, a friend. In my life, one of those people is my cello teacher. His calming, deep voice and happy laugh makes it seem like your troubles are very far away. But he's also incredibly supportive, incredibly patient, and incredibly kind. I told Mr. K my troubles. He sat down, looked at me coolly, and began telling me, with his deep voice, a story. When I was about your age, I entered into a competition for a scholarship. I played a beautiful cello piece. It was perfect. When I finished, I looked out to see the next performer. Do you know who it was? It was a bagpiper, playing the traditional Scottish bagpipe, and dressed in a full Scottish outfit, with the skirt and all. The judges were completely mesmerized. When the results were announced, I had lost. To a bagpiper. You'll get over this failure in the competition, but in the meantime, let's play some cello. Mr. K's story made me realize something important. Even the best, like my cello teacher, have experienced the frequency of failure. Yet his calm acceptance of his loss inspired me to face my own. And as I thought about it more, I realized that the dial on my radio had been slightly off. I had been overconfident, and that overconfidence had given me the frequency of failure. I decided to turn the dial. I started to be more humble about my performances. I didn't care to win so much as to give a good performance and share my talents. But then, as I performed more and had more lessons with Mr. K, I realized that there was still work to be done. I wasn't practicing carefully enough, and my lack of preparation was causing me to fail. If I kept practicing carelessly, those mistakes would make an appearance during a performance. I decided to turn the dial. I made sure to practice carefully and prepare correctly. Fast forward a little more than a year. The concerto competition was coming up, and I wanted to try again. I practiced diligently to perfect my piece, but on the day of the competition, I was humble, and I did not even think about trying to win. I was just there to have a good performance and share my talents. In the days that followed, I waited patiently for the results. And 3 days later, the results were announced. I had won. I had finally heard that beautiful frequency of success. Yet at the same time, it was humbling. I knew that hearing the frequency of my past failure had changed me. Turning the dial had refined me and turned me into the best version of myself. Ladies and gentlemen, future leaders, it's okay to hear the frequency of failure. Think about a time when you failed, when the static of life drowned out your dreams. But what if, instead of giving up, you make one small change? What if you turn the dial? What sounds will you hear then? When failure comes your way, and it will, don't despair. Instead, take a moment to reflect and adjust. Because each time you make a slight adjustment, each time you turn the dial, you're one step closer to hearing the frequency of success. Madam Contest Chair.
Thank you, Caleb, for your speech. Now we will have 1 minute of silence for the judges to complete their remarks. The 1 minute of silence has passed. Now we will be having our next contestant. Contestant number 4, Janya. Can you hear me and can you see me? Please respond so we can check your microphone and we can ensure that we can see and hear you.
And hear you.
Thank you. And now, contestant number 4, Janya. Embracing change for a brighter future. Embracing change for a brighter future, Janya.
Embracing change for a brighter future. Ladies and gentlemen, change is an inevitable part of our life. It's a force that shapes our world, drives progress, and challenges us to grow. Whether we welcome it with open arms or resist it with all our might, change is a constant companion in our journey. We often hear that change is hard, it disrupts our routines, pushes us out of our comfort zones, and forces us to confront the unknown. Yet, it is through change that we discover our true potential, unlock new opportunities, and create a future that we can be proud of. Consider the great achievements of history, the advancements in science, technology, and human rights. None of these would have been possible without change. It was the willingness of individuals and communities to embrace change, to challenge the way things are right now, and to envision a better world that brought about these remarkable transformations. Change begins with a single step, a single decision to take an action. It might be as small as a shift in a mindset or as significant as a movement that alters the, the course of history. But every change, no matter how minor, contributes to the large tapestry of progress. As we stand at the threshold of new possibilities, let us remember that change is not something to be feared, but rather something to be embraced. It is not an opportunity to re it it is an opportunity to reinvent ourselves, to learn and grow, but it is not to an opportunity to hide and and to shape our world. It is really helpful to shape our world. Um, Embracing change requires courage, resilience, and a positive outlook. It means letting go of the past and looking forward with hope, the determination. It means understanding that while the road may be challenging, the decisions hold promise and potential. In conclusion, let us be the champions of change. Let us inspire others with our vision and our actions. Together, we can create a future where innovation, equality, and prosperity flourish. Change is not just a force that acts upon us, it is a force we can harness and build a brighter and more inclusive world. Thank you. And back to you, Michelle.
Thank you. Oh God. Oh my God. Thank you, Janya, for your speech. And now we will have 1 minute of silence for the judges to complete their remarks. The 1 minute of silence has passed. Now we will have our next contestant. Contestant 5, Claire. Can you hear and see me? Please respond so we can check your microphone and ensure we can see and hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. And now, contestant 5, Claire Jiao. Heads or tails? Heads or tails, Claire Jiao.
Heads or tails? In that split second, everything hangs in the balance. It's funny how One little flip can decide so much. Growing up, this coin was my go-to for every tough decision. Heads, play outside. Tails, do homework. Heads, eat ice cream. Tails, eat it anyway, but blame the coin. But what happens when the stakes aren't just about curfews or homework, but about the kind of life we want to live? Contest chair, fellow coin flippers. Sometimes it feels like life hands us a coin and says, good luck. But do you know what makes a choice powerful? It's not just the results, but how we respond when life makes us doubt our choices. When I was in middle school, my life felt like it was already decided. I remember sitting in class, heart pounding, as I watched my classmates raise their hands with ease. My thoughts felt trapped, like birds in a cage, unable to take flight. I was the girl too timid to even ask a McDonald's cashier for a ketchup packet. It's just the way I am, I thought. I don't have a choice. For 3 years, I lived like this. I convinced myself that I was just born quiet, meant to fade into the background. But one day, volunteering at the hospital, I saw a teenage boy lying in bed. He was frail, and his hair was thinned by chemo. Despite the antiseptic scent and the beep, beep, beep of machines that filled the room, he was smiling like a ray of sunshine. I don't know how I mustered up the courage to ask him, "You seem so happy. What's your secret?" Still smiling, he replied, "Life doesn't always give us what we want. So I chose to focus on the good stuff." In that moment, I realized that life's challenges are a lot like flipping a coin, not just leaving things to chance, but about choosing how we respond to whatever side it lands on. I stayed quiet, invisible, because I believed that's just who I was. But what if it wasn't? What if all this time I had been making a choice, one that I hadn't even realized? At first, speaking up felt like climbing a mountain. Every time I opened my mouth, fear pulled me back. So I made a vow to myself. Every day at lunch, I would talk to 5 new people. It wasn't easy at first. My hands trembled, my words stumbled, but every new conversation ignited a spark within me. Soon, that small spark became a fire. I joined the speech and debate team, became its vice president. I joined Toastmasters. And now I am the lead of a nonprofit organization that empowers global youth to make better choices for their own futures. Fellow Toastmasters, maybe you've felt stuck too. Maybe you've told yourself, this is just the way I am, or things will never change. But here's the truth. You are one choice away from a different life. Our past may shape us, but it doesn't define us. Life is a series of choices, so why not write your own story? This coin is small, but it is powerful. It's a reminder that every decision has two sides: fear or courage, silence or action, hesitation or responsibility. So tonight, as you hold your own coin, remember, it's not just a piece of metal. It's a symbol of your power to choose your own path. So what choices are you making tonight that could redefine your tomorrow? Every day offers a new flip of the coin. So choose courage, choose growth, and most importantly, choose your own story. Heads or tails? Contest chair.
Thank you, Claire, for that speech. And now we will be having 1 minute for the judges to complete their remarks. The 1 minute of silence has passed. Now we will be having our next contestant. Ethan, can you hear and see me? Please respond so we can check your microphone and ensure we can see and hear you.
Is this working?
Yes.
Also, I need to double check. Does my head look like it's cut off to anybody?
Not to me, no.
My setup is, as you can tell, my setup is extremely janky because my study that I'm currently in does not admit giving stand-up speeches very well. So if something happens, please tell me. Hopefully my microphone doesn't fall, but everything's good, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because my setup seems to be a bit jankier than the others. But now that everything's good,
All right. Contestant 6, Ethan Lee. What do you do if you're destabilized by a metronome? What do you to do if you're disabled by a metronome? Ethan Lee.
good evening, future leaders and esteemed guests. As all of us know, there are many important qualities that you need to have in order to be a good leader. Some of these are quite obvious. I mean, look at any good leader. You can instantly spot several things that they all have in common. But then there are other qualities that are the exact opposite of obvious. And my goal tonight is to enlighten you with a personal story of how I learned about one of these much more subtle qualities of good leadership. Now, for context, this incident occurred a few years back. Back then, I was, and in fact still am, the concertmaster of the highest level orchestra at my high school. Twice every school year, we have a very important contest, and we play many pieces those contest days. This incident happened a few days before one such contest. Now, as it happened, the conductor was actually absent, so I was tasked with leading the rehearsal that day. And not to be offensive or anything, but our playing was kind of spotty. We had several places where we couldn't play in tune, and even more where we just totally weren't together, and we had actually been chewed out for it by the conductor multiple times before. So I made it my mission to fix those problems and deliver a stellar performance on competition day. And to that end, I decided to have everybody rehearse with one of these. All the musicians here, like Caleb, probably know what this is. A metronome, a ubiquitous tool for almost any musician. So, in order to make it appear louder, because all of us will be playing at the same time, I decided to connect my phone to Bluetooth, the set of Bluetooth speakers that had been hanging from the ceiling, installed for basically this exact purpose. So I did that, got everybody ready to play, and then I pressed the play button. But then, as soon as the first ticks of the metronome rang out into the classroom, disaster struck. Nobody liked the metronome at all. In fact, some people started yelling at me to turn it off, and one of the violas even got up out of their chair and went over and tried to unplug the power source of the speaker. I was stunned. A metronome is a ubiquitous tool. Almost every musician, regardless of age or skill level, has probably used a metronome before. Their sole goal is to keep you in time. Why don't they like the metronome? I was thinking about how to deal with this problem. Maybe they didn't like the harsh mechanical beeping that the metronome emitted every tick, so I swapped it for a much more muted tapping sound. That didn't work. Then I thought, maybe they don't like the text-to-speech voice that counts the beats with every tick. So I disabled that as well. And I guess that actually sort of fixed things. Actually, no, just kidding, just kidding. It fixed nothing. The other orchestra members were still as adamant as ever that I shut down the metronome. And in the end, I had no choice but to disconnect my phone from the Bluetooth speakers, and continue the rehearsal without the metronome. But then, even after the rehearsal had ended, I was still struggling. I was still struggling to understand why. I needed to solve this conundrum. So I went around asking as many people as I could what had happened. After failing to get a straight answer from at least 6 different people, I finally asked my stand partner, and she mentioned something that finally made me realize the true error of my ways. She had almost offhandedly suggested that maybe a lot of the orchestra members were simply too scared of the metronome to continue playing. And that was when I realized something extremely important. The metronome itself did not change from an individual setting to a group setting, because in an individual setting, I'm sure the metronome would work for everybody. I've used it, my classmates have used it, it helps them improve. But we were not in an individual setting. We were in a group setting of over 30 people. And again, even though the metronome itself had not physically changed, no matter if I was practicing by myself or practicing with the orchestra, my metronome looked like this. It did not change. You know what did change? Everybody's perception of the metronome. Because suddenly, with so many other people playing with them, my classmates began to see the metronome not as a tool to help themselves get better, but instead as a machine that methodically exposed each one of their errors. Because every time somebody didn't match up with the metronome, that would mean, oh no, X messed up his 16th notes. Oh no, Y rushed in front of the metronome. Oh no, Z missed a beat. And that was when I further learned a very important lesson about leadership. Almost all the time, when you're leading more than, about 2 people, your followers are going to be extremely diverse in thoughts and ideas. It is basically statistically impossible that any 2 of them will think the same, that any 2 of them will have the same standards, expectations, or methods of approach, even if they're solving the exact same problem like our orchestra was. So, as a leader, you must understand to be considerate of how other people might think. This isn't to say that you should be what some people might refer to as sensitive snowflakes, but that also absolutely does not mean that you should be a cold, hard, and unyielding stone wall. Because if you do that, all you will succeed in doing is decreasing confidence and trust in your leadership all the way down to 0, as very nearly happened to me on that day in orchestra rehearsal. So what is the message? here. The message is, if you're going to try to lead other people, don't try to measure them with a yardstick. Don't try to attempt to force your own standards or expectations upon all of your followers at once. Because again, that can only lead to, at best, your followers not listening to you, and at worst, the sort of catastrophe that I experienced that day. Back to you, Contest Master.
Thank you, Ethan, for that speech, and we will have 1 minute for the judges to rally up their remarks. The minute of silence has passed. Now, I want to say thank you for everyone who participated in this competition or contest. The judges and timers will go to a breakout room to determine the winners. In the meantime, I would like to hand control over to our president, Caleb.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Congratulations to everyone who participated in tonight's contest. All of you did an amazing job. So right now we're going to let the judges enter their breakout rooms. Advisor Susanna, are you initiating the process?
Yes, I am. Can you give us 1 second or two?
Sure.
Angelina, please join the breakout room, and other judges, please join the breakout room. For those you have already given me the ballots, you can stay in the main room, that's okay. And yep, you guys are ready to keep going. Thank you, Caleb.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So to give Mr. Dalmasio a few minutes to prepare his evaluation, I thought maybe we could talk about what everyone did for Thanksgiving, or maybe if you went on a trip, maybe you can share what you did on your trip. So would anyone like to share what they did for Thanksgiving, or whether they went on any trips or anything of that matter? Okay, going once, going twice. If not, I suppose I will share. This Thanksgiving, my family actually hosted the Thanksgiving dinner, but my relatives who usually do the cooking did the cooking, and we ate turkey, we had ham, my relatives came over, and we had a lot of fun. My cousins are all grown up, and they all like to play board games, so that's essentially what we did. Although lately there's been a trend, because my cousins are very into games and enjoy playing all sorts of like the new games. So like there was this game that is called Cheese Thief, and it's like really high tech. There's like an app for this game, and the whole game is you have to predict, everyone has a chance to steal a cheese, like it's like a little phone thing, and then everyone has to at the end discuss who they think the cheese thief is. But there is an added layer of complexity in that there are two people who know who the cheese thief is and have to try to make everyone guess the wrong cheese thief so that the cheese thief wins. It's a really complex, fun game, and I think it was pretty fun. And other than that, we played games, and then we have one tradition, which is playing Sound Off at the end. This game called Sound Off. Everyone when we propose to play the game, because it's a tradition, so we have to do it, everyone is like, no, we're not going to play that game. Why do we have to play that game? In reality, it's super fun because it's almost like charades, but with sound. And I'm not sure if anyone has ever played like Cranium. It's kind of like that. It's a board. Everyone takes turns acting out things, and it's a lot of fun. And my team actually won this time. So that was my Thanksgiving. Had a great time with friends and family. And with that said, I think we are ready. If Noel, let me know if you're ready and I can introduce you. If not, we can just have a few more moments.
Caleb, do I do my my evaluation first, or do they announce the winner? How does that go?
You will do your evaluation first. So
Okay.
I'll introduce you right now.
Okay.
Noel Dalmasio has been a member of Toastmasters for the last 10 years. Tonight, he will share with you public speaking secrets so you can craft a world-class speech. Noel was the runner-up at the 2018 International Speech Contest, 2022 Founders District Humorous Speech Contest, and 2024 Speech Evaluation District Contest. Please help me welcome Mr. Noel Dalmasio.
Thank you, Caleb. Good evening, everyone. Before I begin my group evaluation, what I'm going to do tonight is just a group evaluation for everyone. And if you need more information or questions for me, I included my email address in the chat box. Now, I want to congratulate all the speakers. I love your speeches. They're personal, they're authentic, and very inspiring. Now, tonight, what I want to share with you are secrets that you can use. And I've seen some of you use it, but use to level up so you can have a world-class speech, or more commonly called, have your speech from good to great. With that in mind, there's no particular order on what I'm going to share with you. However, either you record, Caleb, I don't know if you can record this, so they don't have to write a whole lot of stuff, so everyone can just listen and internalize what I'm going to share tonight. So with that, let's start. Introduction. You only have 30 seconds to convince your audience if they want to hear more. And internally, if they want to say, tell me more. That's why your introduction is very important. Here are some things that you can use for your introduction. Number one, use props as an analogy. I've seen some. Why is that important? Because analogy or an object combines not only visual, but also verbal. The audience will remember, once they remember the visual, they will remember the verbal. Number two, use rhetorical question. Again, I've heard on some of the speeches, you ask a question, very impressive. Why? Because if you pause and the audience reflect, guess what? When your audience reflect, then you will connect. Number three, use a clever greeting. If you're talking about dreams, then you can say, my fellow dreamers. If you're talking about, I think I've heard it, flip a coin, you can do that. Incorporate that, make it a clever greeting so it's not Mr. Toast, Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Everyone can hear that. Change it up so that the audience will say, huh, that's different. Number four, this is what I want you to aspire when you're structuring or crafting your speech. Go straight to your personal story. Why is that? Because people love stories. That's why we have $1 billion movies. It's something unique. They have not heard it before. So right away, just tell us your personal story. And here's the kicker. Introduce your problem or conflict right away. Why is that important? Because if your message is the heart of public speaking, well, guess what? Conflict is the heart of your message. The audience would want to know, how is this going to play out? So introduce the problem in the beginning. Instead of telling your story on the body, push it in front. Let me give you an example. Here's a quick example so you can see what I'm talking about. Here's the introduction. I can still remember like it was just yesterday. I was 24 years old and I looked like Leonardo DiCaprio's dad. Coming from the Philippines, I traveled 8,000 miles to the US. My dream since I was a teenager was to have an accounting business. Yes, I was very popular with the ladies. But it was hard. What do you do when you're faced with problems and challenges while facing your dreams? Do you quit or do you stop dreaming? Contest chair, fellow dreamers, how do you pursue your dreams? See that? Short and sweet. I just went to my personal story and I told you what my problem is. My problem is, how do I achieve my dreams? Why is that very important? Because your audience needs to have a buy-in. Once you introduce the conflict, on their mind, they're thinking, how is this going to play out? Is he going to make it or not? That way, you can get their attention. Here's now on the body part. Use audience interaction. You can ask, raise your hand if you want to become a world-class speaker. Simple. Why is that important? You're engaging the audience. When you engage, you will connect. Next one, use the power of pause. If you tell a funny story, you pause. Don't step on the laughter. Internally, figure out when they're going to stop laughing, and then you introduce another concept. Why is that? Because the end of laughter is the beginning, is the height of listening. When people are disarmed, they're relaxed, they will listen to you. So incorporate that. Also, if you're telling something emotional or there's a life lesson that you are learning, once you share it, pause. Let your audience internalize it. Because when they reflect, again, you will connect. Do not hurry when you're telling us a lesson that you learn. We call this the aha moment. Let us enjoy the moment and reflect. Reflect what you're sharing and how do we apply it in our own lives. Very powerful. Next up, add self-reflection and inner dialogue. Once you figure out the aha moment, like the transformation, one powerful way to share it to your audience is to have an inner dialogue. It's kind of like you're talking, but really you're talking to yourself. So one example might be, how do I achieve my dreams? I just want to quit. But then I remember Miss Chow said, keep trying. It's an inner dialogue. I'm talking to myself, but I'm sharing it to the audience. Very powerful. Next up, use vocal variety. You cannot be monotone. People or your audience might fall asleep. You need to go high, you need to go low, fast, and slow. It's like a change up so that your audience it's like on the edge of their seat because they don't know what will happen. So incorporate that so that your speech have a flow. Use a tagline. If you have 8 words or 9 words or less that you can sprinkle throughout your speech, then your audience will remember your message. Try to incorporate that so that at the end, the test will be, what is the message of your speech? And if they can repeat it to you, then that means it's a memorable speech. Next up, when you're asking a question, it's got to be a you-focused question. It's a subtle change. The you, here's an example. Do you want to become a world-class speaker? The you, instead of an I or a we, the secret of that is you're looking to all, but you're speaking to one. The audience will feel like you're just talking to them directly as opposed to the group. As a result, you will build a connection. And that's what it's all about. So try to every time use the word you. Not we, not I, but you. Next up, use the rule of 3. The rule of 3, the number 3 is the least amount of number that you can have a pattern or a rhythm. So for example, in my opening a while ago, I said, I love your speeches because it's personal, it's inspiring, and it's authentic. That's the rule of 3. In your speeches, you can either do that, or you can either also do 3 scenarios of a story, sub-stories of what you're talking about. Very effective. Next up, introduce a Yoda or a guru in your story. When you shared your problem in the beginning of the story or introduction, who was the guru or your Yoda that share with you kind of like the life lesson that will solve your problem? Introduce that person. Now, why is that important? Because technically, audience, if you're the one who solved your own problem, then kind of like you're like in the pedestal, you know it all. And audience, sometimes they're not receptive to that. They want to feel that you're in the same boat as us and someone help you figure it out. So again, introduce the Yoda or the guru in the story. And I've heard some, so keep it up. Next one, use dialogue instead of narration. You have to have both. Cannot be narration, because if your speech is all about narration, then it's a school report. You're telling us something. Change it up by adding some dialogue. Now, the reason why dialogue is very, very effective is because your audience will feel like they're in a movie theater. That's why you guys watch movie. They have a dialogue. Do the same thing. Now, the other reason why dialogue is very, very effective is because twofold. You can either use it for humor or some emotional part of the speech. It can go both ways. Very, very flexible with the dialogue that you can incorporate. Now, here's one thing that you need to include in your, if this is the international speech contest, is you got to sprinkle it with some humor. Now, how do you do that? Look at the funny moments you have in your life and start saving it in your humor file. Take a look if you can use some of those golden nuggets, funny golden nuggets in your speech. If you can insert it where there's an emotional pool or you're sharing something emotional, the way they call it levity, meaning to balance, you can incorporate some humor. Sprinkle it, doesn't have to have a lot. Can you have one in the introduction, one in the body, and one in the closing? Those are already advanced, so try it. For the closing, if you introduce your problem in the introduction, guess what? In the closing, hopefully you will tell us how you solve the problem. It's called circular closing. So for me, how do I achieve my dreams? At the end, what's a transformation? Well, I achieve my dreams. But what is the lesson? The lesson in my speech is keep trying. Circular, you got to close it. So people will feel like, ah, there you go. It's like a movie. There's an ending. For the closing, two more stuff. The next one is, can you use an analogy to close? Whatever you started with, whatever object, can you show it again and tell us? Because again, the power of analogy or metaphor is you're combining the visual with the verbal. People will remember. Last one for the closing is you can end with a tagline. Whatever your tagline, I think I've heard it on some of the speeches, whatever your tagline, you end with a tagline. So people or your audience can remember your message. Now, here's the last one. This is the one key concept that if you can use might elevate your speech from great to world class. What is it? Well, it's the concept of, can you introduce a new concept? Let me give you an example. Do you know the bow and arrow? The arrow hits the heart. Well, there was a one world champion. Guess what he did? Instead of talking about the arrow, he was talking about the bow. He said the bow, he said, pull less and bend more. See the analogy? Something that kind of, I never thought about it. Here's the other one. It's a world-class speech. His title was Sink. It's a sink full of tomatoes and one green apple. What is the metaphor and analogy? Well, the tomato is like the herd, us, a group, versus one green apple. In his speech, you would think that he would follow the herd, the people like us, to be accepted. At the end, guess what? He chose the one green apple. That is a world-class technique. If you can think about one, then that would level up. With that, thank you so much. Good luck, everyone. If you have additional questions on some of these concepts, I left my email, I believe, in the chat. Good luck to you guys. Very inspiring. Keep it up. Caleb, back to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dalmasio, for sharing with us those incredibly detailed speech tips, and I'm sure all of us will use those tips to level up. Now, Mr. Wibawa has volunteered to give some feedback, but he has also requested to first announce the results. So, Noel, if you could please help me to announce the results. You will be announcing the results. And I will give you sharing screen. Do you have certificates? Okay. Let me give you screen share. All right, you should be able to share your screen. And actually, before we announce the results, could we take a quick group photo of all the contestants? So please open your camera and we'll take a quick group photo. All right, one coming in. Okay, I'm gonna take it right now. I'm gonna hold on. Hide non-video participants. 3, 2, 1. Smile. And one more photo. 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay, that's good. And Noel, now you can announce the results.
Okay. Let me take a look. Okay. Drum roll, please. Third place. Okay, before I announce the winners, there was one-time disqualification. Third place, Ethan Lee. Second place, Caleb Van Brunt. And first place, Claire, I don't know how to pronounce the last name, but it's Claire. I have the certificates. I don't know how to send it to you guys, but how do I do that? I'll probably coordinate with Susanna to give it to you, if that's okay. Okay, Caleb, back to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dalmasio, for announcing the results. Congratulations to all of the winners and to all of you who participated. Everyone did a phenomenal job. Now, I know it's getting late for some of you and it's early morning for some of you as well. So if you have to leave, it's totally fine. But Mr. Wawawa has volunteered to give us some individual feedback on each of the speeches tonight. So Mr. Wawawa, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Caleb, Mr. President. Yes. Sorry that my camera is rather blurry. I'm outside right now. So yes, I will highlight each of the contestants' best strengths that you should play on, that you should capitalize on, so that your next contest becomes even stronger. Even stronger performance, and you can win even higher levels. So first, Alex, how did you feel about that speech? How did you feel, Alex, about the speech? If no, I would say that your best strength is the topic that you chose. I can see that you really believed in it. That's something rare to see, because sometimes people make stories that sound interesting, that sound impressive, but they don't believe in it. And I can see that. I see that you really believe in your topic, and that makes it very compelling to hear. That's your strength, Alex, in my opinion. William, your strength is your story and your humor. That's amazing. Even though I will address the elephant in the room here, it seems you are under-rehearsed. Your story is already funny and interesting. Well done on that. Caleb, your best strength, in my opinion, is tying the idea of the orchestra and the sound of the, what do you call it, turning the dial, because they are both related to the same concepts of sound. Now, explore further on this idea. How do you tie both plot lines together in the end? because it was just missing one little push to make it incredible. Janya, your best strength, in my opinion, is your ability to share what you believe in, and the research is also based on actuality, right? We all experience the same thing about change, and that's very relatable. And how do we make it special about you? How do you make this speech yours? How do you make this speech something that only you can do? And not just someone speaking about change. Make it personal to you. How can you do it, Janya? I'm sure there are many others that can teach you that. And Claire, I think your best strength is, how should I say it? It's most world championship-like, as I should call it, because I've seen a lot of world championship speeches so far. And yes, it's the, how should I call it? If I have a metaphor, it's like, if the metaphor is a cake, it's the most expensive looking restaurant looking cake that I got served today. No slight to the other contestants, of course, you have your own strengths, but Claire's strength is how proper it looks, how proper it looks, how it seems very well thought out, and all the ingredients are there to make a great cake. That's amazing, Claire. Take it to the next level on the contest. And Ethan, I think your best strength is, it's something that I never heard before. The concept of your idea that connecting the idea of metronome so that everyone actually gets very anxious when their faults are exposed. That's a very original idea for a story. So I think if developed further, this can be like this can leave your mark in the world championship stage, because in the world championship stage, every speaker's story that wins is unique to them. It's not about success. It's not about failing. It's not about just success. It's not about just failing. It's not about just leadership, but it's about them. It's very unique to themselves. And you have that in your story. Expand it. No shame in being third place. You did great. And maybe just turn off your blur. It's okay. We can see your room. Don't be so embarrassed about your room. It's nice. All right, that's it. Hope you guys play to your strengths. And that's just my humble opinion. Thank you for letting me be part of your club again.
Thank you again, Mr. Wibawa, for coming and sharing with us your valuable insights. And I know that we will all take your advice to heart and use those tips to bring our level up and to improve our strengths. So thank you so much for coming. With that said, remember to invite your friends to participate in the FLGC and continue to grow and experience that ability to speak and lead that all of you have been experiencing. And before I forget, does anyone have any questions, comments, or feedback about the meeting tonight? If so, please open your mic and share your thoughts. All right, if not, then at 7:29 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I would like to call this meeting to a close. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for sharing your speeches with us, and we will see everyone back here next week. And congratulations, Claire, on going on to the national competition. All right, bye everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next week. Bye everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you, everyone. Congrats.